So should we get started with our ASL announcement? Rachel, I see the camera's on you, so go ahead. Are you all set? Great, thank you very much. So for those who didn't notice, tonight's meeting, we have ASL interpreters, and I thank them so much for joining us and sharing their evening with us to make our meeting more inclusive. And I'm Robin Broshi, I'm a council member. I'm just gonna make a quick announcement that we've switched to the webinar mode in Zoom to try to have some more granular controls. It's new for us, so we think we have a good game plan for tonight, but we ask you for your patience with us if we have to puzzle through some of the pieces of technology. If you would like to speak during our public speaking session, the chat is now available for members of the council to communicate important messages out to the community. So the link to sign up for a public speaking session is in the chat. We'll post that continuously throughout the evening. We have 2 public speaking sessions. There is a Q&A feature in Zoom, but we will not in the Zoom webinar, but we're not going to be utilizing it this evening. So the way, if you would like to make a comment during public speaking, it's going to be through the speaker sign up. And during public speaking, we will promote speakers to panelists for their comments. So you will have the opportunity to put your video on. And I think that is the housekeeping about the webinar feature. And now I'm gonna turn the floor over before we formally start our meeting to our president, Ed Irizarry, to make some personal remarks about the council and life. You're muted, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Robin. And good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I just want to say a few words in memory of Yvette Fernandez, our administrative assistant who recently passed away. Yvette was a happy person, always eager to find the joy in life, to find a reason to laugh. She was also very proud of her work on this council. She put up with all of us through our ups and downs and our disagreements, and always remained devoted to our work here at CEC District 2. I thank her for all of her hard work and all of the long hours she put in different venues, in different auditoriums throughout Manhattan, where we all used to meet like classmates. And I thank each and every one of you who have worked to make the last few months of her life as pleasant as possible and who have supported her family. Thank you, Yvette. We hear you laughing. We will try to make you proud of us. Thank you for everything. I would also like to send a message to the family of the poor young man who was killed in Minneapolis, Andre Wright. I think it's horrible that Black young men continue to lose their lives, even as police officers are being tried for the death of, for the killing of George Floyd. So I also would like to send my condolences to the family of that young man. So having said that, thank you. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, everyone, for working very hard during this very difficult time of tragedy and of great sorrow. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Robin and Emily. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And actually, I'm gonna turn it over. Those were excuse me, thank you for your words and for tying together the personal and the public tragedies that we're all kind of struggling with right now. And Emily is going to do the honors of running our meeting tonight.
Excuse me, I think we still have to
Oh.
call the meeting to order and do the roll call.
Yes, Emily's going to start that. This was pre-meeting.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Vincent. So yes, I would like to call the meeting to order. And Vincent, if you would be so kind as to call the roll.
Sure. Sorry about that. So Robin Broshi, obviously you're here. Eric Goldberg.
Here.
Emily is here as well. I'm obviously here. Edward also
Here.
present. Maud Marin.
Here.
Ben Morden.
Here.
Ushma Neal.
Here.
Len Silverman.
Here.
Shino Tanakawa.
Here.
And Tom Rockledge.
Here.
All right. And we also have Katarina Kaur, the student member. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so we have 11 members and our student member all in attendance today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vincent. And next we are going to turn it over to Devinder Kalra of the DOE. And she is going to give a presentation this evening on the DOE budget, on contracts for equity and the state funding, which will be actually quite different this meeting than it has been in the past. So welcome, Devinder. Devinder, are you able to unmute yourself by chance?
I promoted her to co-host, so hopefully.
Here she comes.
Good evening. Let me see if I can share the screen. Give me 1 second. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Great. All righty. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us here this evening for Contract for Excellence presentation. My name is Devinder Kalra, and I'm here to deliver Contract for Excellence presentation. I will begin by giving you a quick overview of Contract for Excellence background, and then I'll take you through the presentation with citywide and District 2 specific data for Contract for Excellence funding. The New York City Department of Education receives a portion of its overall budget in the form of foundation aid from the New York State. Contract for Excellence is a state foundation aid that came as a result of Court of Appeals decision in November 2006. The Court of Appeals ruling determined that the state was not meeting its constitutional requirements in funding a sound basic education for all students, and the state has the responsibility to increase funding for New York City public school. As a result of this court decision, the New York State created the foundation aid formula in 2007, but the formula was never fully funded as promised. However, it promises that no district will get less state aid than the year before. Contract for Excellence funds were first received in the 2007 and 2008 school year, and these funds under the state law must be distributed to schools that meet certain requirements, and funds must be spent by those schools in specific program areas. The next slide goes into detail about 6 program areas for which the Contract for Excellence funds have to be used for. Contract for Excellence funds can be used for 6 program areas like class size reduction, time on task, teacher and principal quality initiatives, middle and high school restructuring, full day pre-K programs, and model programs for English language learners. Under class size reduction, the funding can be used to open school buildings or create additional classroom sections with the teacher teaching independently to achieve class size reduction in the target grade. Some schools may not have sufficient space to reduce class size reduction through the creation of additional classroom. In such cases, schools may elect to assign additional teacher in an existing classroom, teaching collaboratively with another teacher. Time on task initiatives are supplemental to regular curriculum. Schools can allocate the funds to implement supplementary before and after school programs, Saturday academies, new or expanded arts and CTE programs, summer school programs. All these programs must target students who are at risk of not graduating or they're not meeting the state standards in subject required for graduation.
Devinder, I'm
Devinder,
sorry to interrupt, but we have ASL interpreters on tonight. If you could slow down your speech a little bit so they have a chance to keep up with what you're saying, that would be very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So time and task programs are supplemental to regular curriculums. School may allocate the funds to implement supplementary before and after school programs, Saturday academies, new or expanded arts and career technical education programs, summer school programs. All these programs must target students who are at risk of not graduating or are not meeting the state standards in subject required for graduation. Teacher and principal quality programs must, under teacher and principal quality initiatives, fund can be used on teacher and principal training programs to recruit, develop, and retain highly qualified teachers and principals for raising achievement in struggling schools. Or funds can be used on programs providing professional mentoring for new teachers and principals. Under middle and high school restructuring, funds can be used to implement instructional and structural changes to support class size reduction and improve student achievement in struggling middle and high schools. Full day pre-K programs, expanding the instructional hours for existing half-day pre-K programs so that they last for a full school day, provided the schools have sufficient space. Under model programs for English language learners, schools may allocate the funds to implement innovative programs for raising achievement among underserved English language learners, training programs to recruit, develop, and retain ENL or ESL teachers. These programs are intended to support schools in adopting best practices for raising achievement among English language learners. Slide 4 is about the continuation of Content for Excellence requirements. Funds should be used towards meeting the school's overall educational goals outlined in the School Comprehensive Education Plan, which is the document that guides the work of each school. Since funding is given to schools in need of improvement, overcrowded schools, every effort should be made to use the funding to target the neediest population. Content for Excellence funds must be used to improve the performance of students with the greatest educational needs, such as multilingual language learners, English language learners, students with disabilities, students in poverty, students with low academic achievements. Programs should be designed to help at-risk students increase performance in 4 major core subject areas, such as math, science, English language, and social studies. Funds must supplement, not supplant, services to the targeted population. As a reminder, the Content for Excellence funding is supplemental and should not be used for mandated expenses for which tax levy funding is provided to schools. This means that the funds should not be used to replace the programs that were already funded, but to be used for new or expanded programs only. Since there are no new Contact for Excellence funds in fiscal year 21 to apply towards new or expanded programs, funds may be used to maintain the programs that were approved in prior years. So on slide 5 goes into details on how much overall Contact for Excellence funds are allocated to New York City Department of Education with a breakdown of restricted versus unrestricted funds. So what we are looking at here in this graphic is the breakdown of how the state Contact for Excellence funding has preliminarily been scheduled in this current school year. In fiscal year 21, Department of Education received total of $531 million in Contact for Excellence funding. Of $531 million, $183 million is distributed in the form of unrestricted funds, and $348 million is kept in the form of restricted category and is specifically tied to the intention of the funding. Unrestricted funds are not subject to Contact for Excellence rules. They are flexible and may be used as needed. Unrestricted funds are embedded in fair student funding, which is the primary funding source for schools. Details for fair student funding can be found in the school allocation memorandum by visiting New York City Department of Education FS Fair Student Funding Allocation website. This is the part of the allocation you are not going to see in this presentation. This presentation is only going to be about the remaining $348 million in the form of restricted funds, which is distributed through school allocation. Restricted funds are subject to Contact for Excellence spending rules and regulation. Originally, Contact for Excellence funds were supposed to phase in over 5 years, with the DOE receiving incremental funds each year on top of the new funds from the previous years. Because of the economic recession in 2009, the state only funded 2 years of Contact for Excellence. No new Contact for Excellence funds were given since 2009 and 10. And Contact for Excellence funding was reduced to a maintenance of effort level. So the schools were given just enough money to maintain programs that were approved by the state in prior years. So this slide goes into detail of how overall citywide Contact for Excellence funds were allocated and how it's broken down to be distributed into 3 categories. So from here, within the restricted funds of $348 million, the breakdown we are looking at is $214 million went into targeted allocations among the specific schools based on the student population and the student need. $214 million, which is 61% of the total restricted funds, is distributed directly to schools in the form of discretionary allocations, and $104 million went into the targeted allocations among the specific schools based on the student need and applicable school population. 9% is distributed for maintenance of effort programs, such as summer school programs for students with the lowest academic achievement in the city. So all this adds up to a total of $348 million. This slide gives a further breakdown as to how discretionary funds are distributed and used within the school programs. Discretionary dollars go directly to schools, and these funds may be spent at the discretion of principals in consultation with the SLT members within the 6 program areas. $214 million in restricted Contact for Excellence funds were released to 1,400 plus schools in May 2020. So 61% of total restricted contract for excellence funding was to continue the services of existing programs that had been approved in the past. Because all schools received the same allocation as last year, as such, they can continue to fund the existing contract for excellence programs that they started with these funds in previous years. If a school cannot maintain the same programs because of significant changes in its student population, school may choose to reallocate funds to a different allowable program areas, which is more appropriate for students to succeed. DOE allows school principals to make budgetary decisions about what they need for their schools and students to succeed. While schools have been budgeting these funds, the use of them is not approved until New York City Contract for Excellence Plan is approved by the state. Principals are notified upfront that their proposed uses of these funds are subject to public engagement process, and they are expected to take feedback from the parents, students, teachers, etc. into account. Given the special circumstances of Contract for Excellence funding, the Department of Education is working to ensure that principals and their school leadership teams have the full range of information and support needed to optimally allocate the Contract for Excellence dollars. Slide 8 is about further breakdown as to how targeted allocations are distributed and used within the targeted schools. So about 104 million, which is 30% of 348 million of total restricted Contract for Excellence funds, is distributed in the form of targeted allocation and is allocated directly to specific schools. These funds are earmarked for specific programs. School receiving allocations were chosen based on overall student need, targeting specific student populations such as underserved English language learners, students with disabilities, and students with low academic achievement in overcrowded schools or schools in need of improvement. B, capacity to carry out the specific programs to support increases in ICT enrollment, full-day pre-K classrooms, and autism spectrum disorder classrooms. Schools that received targeted Contract for Excellence allocation in 2009 and 10 received these allocations again in school year 2020-21, as long as they retained the targeted student population and capacity to carry out the specific programs necessary to maintain effort. Funds that were previously received by the school that lost the population needed to support these programs are being proposed for redistribution to other schools that gained this population in school year 2021. 9.9 million is for full-day pre-K programs and 4.7 million is for autism spectrum disorder classrooms. In terms of maintenance of effort initiatives, Department of Education is proposing to continue funding the same programs that were funded last year. About 30 million, which is 9% of the total restricted Contract for Excellence funds, are proposed to be spent to maintain summer programs for low-performing students or students with the lowest academic achievement in the city. So this is the breakdown of the overall citywide allocation. This next couple of slides will go into detail as to how Contract for Excellence dollars are supposed to be spent within 6 program areas. So from the $348 million of restricted fund is the graphic breakdown of how the schools have proposed to schedule these funds to support the allowable program areas. Much of the criticism the New York City Department of Education counter for excellence spending is that we do not use enough money to reduce class size. So this slide demonstrates how much of the 348 million goes towards paying for teachers and other school-based support staff, that is guidance counselor, social worker, speech improvement, school psychologists, and paraprofessionals. So the largest amount, 321 million, which is 92% of 348 million, goes towards teachers. 17.6 million goes to pay pupil personnel service providers, such as other school-based support staff. All these personnel contribute to reducing class size and pupil-teacher ratios, as well as improving student achievement outcomes. 9.4 million, that is 3% of 348 million, goes towards other than personnel services, such as supplies, materials, and equipment. 83,000 goes towards paying for assistant principals and principals. The next couple of slides are specific to contact CEC2 and gives you the district-specific breakdown of proposed discretionary C4E spending. So what we are looking at here is the overall discretionary contract for excellence dollars within CEC2 and how District 2 schools have proposed to spend these funds in each of these 6 program areas. On slide 6, you saw how schools citywide were allocated 214 million in discretionary contract for excellence fund. In fiscal year 21, schools within District 2 received 7.3 million in discretionary allocations. And this is how the District 2 schools have proposed to spend those funds in 6 program area. Full day pre-K is not a part of the contract for excellence funds. Schools did not schedule the funds for this program area. 42% goes towards class size reduction. So here you see the dollars and the percentages, how the schools have proposed to spend the contract for excellence funds in each program area. 717,000 goes toward teacher and principal quality initiative programs. 2.5 million goes towards time on task programs, such as before and after school enrichment program, summer school programs. So the total is $7.3 million. So slide 11 and 12 will show district proposed spending on 6 program areas by program strategies approved by state and compare the citywide total to District 2 totals. So it gives you an idea of how District 2's share of funds compare to the rest of the city for each program area. This slide represents total of discretionary and targeted allocation for District 2 schools. So these are the total funds citywide is 18 million, and District 2 is 707. I'm sorry, hold on. So under class size reduction, the citywide total is 142 million. And CEC District 2 share is 7.3 million. Under time on task, citywide is 75 million, and District 2 has proposed to spend 2.5 million on time on task initiatives. Teacher and principal quality initiatives, that is the umbrella category under which funds are proposed to be spent on leadership coaches, mentoring for new staff, recruit and retain highly qualified teacher coaches. So the total under teacher and principal quality initiative citywide is 18 million, and District 2 share is 717,000. So here you will see the total how DOE has schedule the fund for middle and high school restructuring, 2.5 million, and District 2 has proposed to schedule $200,000. Full day pre-K program is citywide is 9.1 million, and District 2 share is 144,000. Model program for ELS, which is further subdivided into 3 different categories: L initiative, L innovative programs, L parent involvement, L teacher recruitment, but District 2 has scheduled to spend the funds only for L innovative programs, which is $783,000. And citywide, it is 37 million. So class size as an allowable activity during the 2020-21 school year. Class size reduction continues to remain a priority for use of Contract for Excellence funds. For this current school year, the DOE will continue its effort to reduce class size, which is one of the allowable activities for which Contract for Excellence funds may be spent. For the 2021 school year, New York City Department of Education will continue to focus on the lowest performing schools in its class size reduction. The New York State Commissioner for Education has determined that the 5-year class size plan created in 2007 school year, when the Contract for Excellence legislation was issued, is no longer in effect. We will take public feedback into account in the coming months as we continue to develop a citywide Contract for Excellence plan. The deadline for submitting public comments will be May 13, 2021. The public can comment on any aspect of the plan, including how schools are planning to spend the discretionary funds within the 6 program areas, how the DOE is allocating targeted contract funds to school. Educators, parents, and all other members of the New York City community with feedback should email at contractforexcellence@schools.nyc.gov. So we are open to public questions.
Thank you so much, Devinder. Do any council members have questions to start with?
This is Vincent. You're going to share the slide deck with us, right?
Vincent, was that you asking a question here, or did you?
I tried to ask if Devinder was going to share the slide deck with us, so we'd have that.
Yes, usually you do, right?
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, and I don't know if it'll be posted on the website, on our website, I assume, as usual.
Devinder, can you confirm you'll share the deck with us, right?
It is actually available on the website, but I could certainly email. I don't know if you want me to do that, I can do that.
Yeah, it would be great if you could just send an email with the direct link to the deck to cec2@schools.nyc.gov, and then
Okay.
we'll post it on our website.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you give me the email address?
Sorry, just our cec2@schools.nyc.gov.
You got it. I'll certainly do that.
Thank you.
No
And for
problem.
members of the public, just to let you know, that will be on our website, which is CECD2.net. Are there any other questions from other council members?
Just to say, this is really exciting and gratifying for the first time in a long time.
Yes, many people have fought for many, many years to get this fully funded. So great. And so, you can always, if people have questions, we have decided this evening with this new format that what we can do is, if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A and we can collect those and give them to the DOE in order to be answered that way. Great. So, or Robin, there is no way to take actual questions. Or, can we take questions?
I think that it's hard to see, but in small type at the bottom page, there's contracts for excellence at schools.nyc.gov, and I'll put that in the chat. And if you have questions or comments on the deck we saw tonight, that's the most efficient way you can get some either share feedback or ask questions. And you can, if you want to copy our email, I'm going to put that in as well. And then you can also, that way we can see what questions or concerns District 2 families have about the funding from the state.
Great. So I think if there are no other questions from council members, I think we will say thank you so much, Devinder, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much and have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
So we'll go to the next portion of our evening, which is our first public speaking session. I just want to explain to everybody how this works. There is a window that you should be able to see that has a list of names on it. At the top of that list is an email address, or sorry, a web address, tinyurl.com/CEC2 speaker sign up. And if you go to that, you can sign up to speak this evening at our public session. So it is also in the chat. And we do have our first speaker tonight.
Oh, Emily, I have a point of order.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I recognize you, Len.
Yeah, hi, I'm sorry. I noticed Ben Kalos is listed as being here. I'm not sure if he wanted to speak. I know.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. You are so right.
We let our elected officials go.
Absolutely. Well, that and I also saw that Luke Wolf from the Comptroller's Office is here in the room. So, Ben, if you would like to, or
I just promoted to panelist. Or
great.
Thank you very much for having me.
Councilmember Kalos, welcome.
I want to thank Community Education Council for District 2, to your leadership and everyone for having me, to Len, who I've known forever. I'm Councilmember Ben Kalos, and some of you may know me from the fight for pre-K in District 2, when the mayor announced universal pre-K and we fought for it in Albany. On the Upper East Side, we actually only got about 123 seats. We were able to win all the seats we actually needed in 2017, which is right around when Mayor de Blasio announced 3K for all. And somehow that also didn't come to District 2. Last month, we got amazing news from the mayor, thanks to funding from our federal government secured by our Congressmember Carol Maloney and billions of dollars in direct aid to New York City. We were able to fully fund 3K for all with 16,000 new seats, including District 2. I will tell you, full disclosure, that I now have a 3-year-old after fighting for this for 7 years. And I can tell you, I came here because we need to work together. What worked for the East Side before was bringing parents, community-based providers, schools, and the SCA to the table, along with people who live in co-op and condos, who have commercial spaces, and even landlords in the real estate community. Because if we're going to want to get these 16,000 seats, and if we want the seats in Manhattan where everything's already built, I'm here to ask everyone to please work with us, with DOE, with SCA. You can email me education@benkalos.com. And I'm hoping that we can work together to convince schools that may have seen a reduction in enrollment to add a 3K to their building. So far, we've been a little bit out of luck. A lot of folks a lot of schools have indicated that they're very concerned about adding a 3K class as they're trying to figure out how to get back during the pandemic. We're going to need folks who may have their children already have providers to see if they can ask their providers to fill in, to apply. We're going to need parents to log in and to My Schools and make sure that they create a profile for their 3-year-old, even if they don't have a school in District 2 to apply for, which is incredibly frustrating. And we're going to need anyone who's in the real estate industry or by virtue of being a co-op or condo owner might have real estate themselves. If they know where there's 10,000 square feet or more of empty storefronts, we're going to need that for 3K as well. So I just came to say, like, congratulations, we got it. Now comes the hard part of actually finding the space. Happy to work with you, education@benkalos.com.
Thank you so much, Council Member. And next, we would love to, if Luke Wolf would like to speak, we'll have him speak. Or just say hello from the Comptroller's office. Ushma, are you able to?
Yep, here I am.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, nice to see you all. Luke Wolf from Comptroller Stringer's office here. I'll just share 2 quick updates. The first is we are launching our second CUNY fellowship. So I know that a lot of the folks in here, kids are a little bit younger, but in case you know recent CUNY grads, it is 6-month paid fellowship opportunity in the Comptroller's office. I'm really hoping to get folks government experience in a variety of different departments in our office. I will send a flyer along for hopefully the CEC to distribute. Second, today we announced we're having our second, or I don't know how many, just a while going on now, iftar on the go. It's the first day of Ramadan, and we are providing in all 5 boroughs, but including Manhattan, weekly food distributions over the next few weeks. So we'll share that information as well and encourage those who are celebrating to come on out if you'd like. So nice seeing everyone, and hope you all are well.
Thank you so much, Luke. And now I would like, before we get to our public session, we also have Rob Robinson, the UFT Manhattan Parent and Community Liaison. And so I would love to promote him to be able to speak tonight. Welcome, Rob. Rob, are you able to unmute yourself?
Oh, okay.
Hello?
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay, great. Good to see everybody. How are you? Hey, Emily, how are you?
Good. Thanks so much for coming, Rob. Welcome.
My pleasure. Shino, good to see you all. It's been a while. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. I see the awesome young lady who is doing the sign language. So just good evening, everybody. I'm very, very happy to have an opportunity to bring you greetings. I am Robinson. I am the Parent Community Liaison for the United Federation of Teachers, supporting them to be on with CECD2. I know that, you know, we are in really uncertain times, right? And we've been that way for some time now. I do have to, however, commend CECD2 for the exceptional work that you continue to do, right? You have remained, in my opinion anyway, a source of connectivity for parents, a resource hub for parents. This has been a space and place where when parents have had questions, Ushma, when parents have had questions, Robin, they've been able to come and get those things answered and resolved. And I know that for a lot of the schools in District 2, and for a lot of the parents who have children at those schools, that has helped to decrease some of the stress that a lot of parents have felt through this time. You know, I know that with the vaccinations and that whole entire initiative, and I'm fully vaccinated now, that are coming, we hope that we get back to life that resembles what it used to look like. But I say that with the caveat that we know things will never be the same again, right? Here's what we do know, though. We know that as parent leaders and as parent advocates, your role is more important than ever. And that no matter what the scenario is going to be, right, continue to be that beacon that parents can look to look toward, that advocacy piece that parents need to be able to provide the best education for their children. Continue to be that. And so I applaud your leadership here. I want to tell you all that I thank you as a father of a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that attends school in Manhattan. I know that as a parent, right, the resources that you continue to provide for parents are critical. And I want you to keep on doing that, right? Irrespective of what happens in DOE politics or whatever the case may be, continue to be that, because you parents need you. We need you. So thank you for the things that you do and for the resources you are. Great seeing you again, Emily. And I'm hoping that at some point I can see you all again in person. Thank you for that. You guys have an amazing evening and a great meeting. I'll be around.
Thank you so much, Rob. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Have a good one.
We have, it looks like Harvey Epstein, Assembly Member Epstein has joined the room. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but before we start the public session, I would love to offer him a chance to speak if you would like to do so.
I don't see him in the participants. Where did you see his name?
I thought I saw him flash in, but maybe he had trouble connecting.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yep, we sure will. Sorry.
But in the meantime, should we go to the speaker list?
Absolutely. Let's go to the first speaker on the public speaking list. Just before we get started, I just want to remind everyone, I know this is a new format. It should pop up on your screen to unmute, and then you can just press unmute and you should be able to start your camera at that time as well. Every public speaker will have a full 2 minutes to speak. We do ask that you try to respect that. Each speaker will get 1 chance to speak this evening. Vincent does keep time, so you'll hear a little beep. We try not to cut people off rudely, but we do ask that when you hear the beep or Vincent saying something, if you could just wrap it up, just finish your sentence. But we welcome you and we are excited that you're here to public speak. So the first person is Jen Soltis.
Yes, hi, thank you. Yes, I'm here in support of the resolution to be presented tonight to ask for District 2 to expand the ASD Nest program to more schools. As a parent of a child on the autism spectrum, I'm completely aware of the importance to having more convenient locations spread out throughout the city. Autism impacts about 1 in every 64 children, so therefore it's a widespread disability that surely impacts dozens of students in every school across the district. However, at this point in time, there are only 4 elementary schools in all of Manhattan offering the program, and one of those schools is in District 2, which is located downtown. So for those of us who reside in particular areas of the city, like, for example, the East 50s to the East 80s, our children would need to travel more than 40 blocks to get to any of these schools that offer the ASD Nest program. Students on the spectrum would particularly benefit from having a program like Nest closer to home, where they can maintain social interactions with their classmates outside of the classroom hours more easily, like at their neighborhood playgrounds and after school activities, and the ultimate goal for many children on the spectrum, impromptu play dates. Those activities are much more difficult to occur when the child's classmates are mostly congregated 40+ blocks away. The model for the program has already been built, so it's been tested and approved, and from what I understand, ready to be spread to more schools that raise their hand to take it on. And the program not only benefits the autistic students, but I'm told it has become coveted amongst the general education students because of the smaller classroom size. Plus, it would offer more diversity and tolerance within the schools, as it could attract students from outside of their zone school to attend. So, you know, with more District 2 schools facing, unfortunately, lower enrollment, expanding the ASD Nest program would be a very deserving use of the additional funding coming to our city from the newly passed state budget and federal government. So Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Jen. Oops, sorry. I realized actually I'm not usually the one who reads the list. Shino, do you want
feel free, but I think Assembly Member Epstein is in the room now, so we can hand the
Fantastic.
mic over to him.
Great. It's under Joanna. Oh, no, now it's under Harvey. Great. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry about the confusion. I guess staff signed up. Can you can hear me, right?
We can hear you. Yep, we can.
Okay, good.
To go.
So I just wanted to give a quick update on where we are with the state budget. People hopefully knew that we passed the state budget last week, and it was really historic on the education front. We've been working for 15 years around the campaign for fiscal equity and ensuring that we had sufficient foundation aid. If people know, there was a lawsuit 15 years ago. Court of Appeal said the state has been underfunding education for far too long. 15 years later, we finally made our first down payment on that, which was $1.4 billion of new revenue sources. So wherever your child goes to public school, you're at some percentage of the formula, whether most schools are around 90% of the CFE funding. You're going to see a substantial increase in funding for next year for your schools. It was a huge victory for public education. And over the next 2 years, we're going to make that $4 billion full commitment. So I just want to let people know there are lots of other really important things that happened in the last couple of weeks at the end of the budget. We put hundreds of millions of dollars into higher education at CUNY and SUNY and our private schools. We made a deep commitment to rent relief for the 1.3 million tenants who are falling behind. We've talking about what will the future of New York look like in our public school system. We made a commitment to 3K and pre-K across the state. So it was a lot to celebrate in this year's budget. I was proud to support the budget that we voted on. And if people have questions, you should reach out to me or my office. Joanna Sanchez from my office should be on this Zoom. But I just really wanted to come and let people know the good news. And as we get to the end of this legislative calendar, there's a lot of things going on around schools. I know in New York City, there's Albany's going to have some influence over where we go on mayoral control. We're going to have a couple more hearings this year on mayoral control as that expires in the near future. So I would encourage everyone to really engage with your state representatives to ensure that you understand what the impact that, having strong legislators in Albany will make a difference for all of us in our schools and our community. And, just one little thing, $1 billion we set aside for our small businesses means that businesses across the city and the state will be able to survive and pay their rent and stay open. So it's really been a historic budget, and I'm proud to have been a part of this moment. And I wanted just to let you all know, and thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member Epstein. We always appreciate it when our elected officials come to our meetings. It's very exciting. All right, next. I want to make a small announcement. If those of you who joined a little bit later, we have this new webinar feature. We are asking you to sign up for the public session. The URL is in the chat, but also it's at the top of the speaker list, which should be on one of your squares. So, Shino, do you want to take it away?
Sure. And just a reminder, we do have an interpreter, so please slow down to help the interpretation. Petunia Schmiel.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm here as a parent, like my friend Jen, who spoke earlier, just to support the resolution being proposed tonight about advocating for more ASD Next programs in District 2. I have a preschooler who will be starting kindergarten next year, and we have applied for the program and would love to. We live on Roosevelt Island, which is, a commute issue in of itself, but would love to see more of these types of programs expanded throughout the city, not even just District 2. I think there's a lot more need for it. One of the other things I wanted to mention is that I think, in addition to spreading the programs, also better education for teachers and faculty about what these actual programs are. I think for parents coming in, if you are not sort of educated or sort of diligent about looking for ways to help your child get to the next step, especially a child with special needs. There's not a lot of help coming from schools sometimes because they are also in the dark about how these things work. And so I would love to advocate for more education for faculty and staff in public schools in general and in District 2, just to give parents a better idea of what their options are in terms of support for their children with IEPs. And the final thing I wanted to mention also is that, you know, there are a lot of programs for K through and onwards. For children in the pre-K world, there's not a lot happening. Even with Learning Bridges, it was really hard to find a spot for a child with an IEP in pre-K in the city and in District 2. So I think there needs to be a better way to really look at those who are younger and those who really need the help and who need the support. You know, we find that children who have help and aid at a younger age have a much better chance of getting to their next level. So I would love to see more information for younger folks and for families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tricia Shimamura.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tricia Shimamura, and I'm here tonight to voice my support of the ASD NEST program expansion. I wasn't able to mark in signing up that I am a future District 2 parent. My son is just 2 years old, and so I don't know yet his needs in terms of what academic setting and what supports that he's going to require. But as a former public school social worker, I can tell you that I know very well that we do not provide enough supports for our families whose students are on the spectrum. It is incredibly isolating, it is difficult, and it can feel like you will never get through it. And I think that's why this program is so incredible, is because not only does it provide our children with the supportive educational environment that they can best excel in, but it does create more opportunities for community. And I love what Jen said before about it bringing, building tolerance, building integration, building inclusivity, things that we just frankly need so much of. So I hope that you would consider supporting this resolution. I will also say that I am a proud member of Manhattan Community Board 8, not that I'm speaking on behalf of the board, but I do know this community. I like to think that I do, and I do like to think that that we must always be doing more to fight for our families, particularly those who need it most. And I can't really think of any families that more in need of our support than these ones who are really just trying to fight for the best interests of their kids. So I urge you to support this resolution, and thank you again for the work that you do.
Next speaker is Jennifer Toe.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm Jen Toe. I'm also a mother of a child with ASD who's 3 years old. And I just want to echo the last three speakers in support of expanding more ASD NEST programs. Just wanted to mention, I'm a native New Yorker. I've gone through public school in New York City since I was 3 years old up through high school. I went to PS 40, Eastside Middle School, Stuyvesant High School. So I'm a major advocate for public education in New York City. I'm also an allergist and immunologist in the Upper East Side, and I do see children who have also gone through the Nest and Horizon programs, and it's really benefited them. So hopefully these programs will be available to my child when he goes through the turning 5 process. Jen mentioned something about not enough programs being local to our area from East 50s and North. And I just also want to emphasize, in addition to building community, busing is an issue. My son currently attends preschool through CPSC, and his preschool is on 58th Street and 9th Avenue. And he has to take the bus from 87th Street and 2nd Avenue. And oftentimes it takes about 2+ hours to get home. So I do want to emphasize that it is important to have these programs available in all areas of the city, not just in certain areas. So I do want to emphasize that we should have more programs throughout the area so that we don't have to go through prolonged busing. I also wanted to emphasize that we need more programs because a lot of times children with late dates of birth, such as my son has a late date of birth, he's usually the last to be considered for these programs. And I'm concerned when it comes to the Turning 5 process, there won't be any ASD nest spots available. And I also agree with that this is an isolating process and it would be nice to have some more community within ASD parents groups because we don't really have much information on what's out there. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kaushik Das. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, takes a minute when you promote. Hi, my name is Kaushik Das. You've heard me all speak here before. I'd like to disagree with a little bit of Robert Robinson, who was gushing about certain panel members and its current leadership. If anyone has noticed, the number of parent speakers and attendees have declined to about 7 parent speakers and 46 attendees. When under former leadership, it used to boast 50+ speakers and 500 attendees during COVID times. It's certainly not for lack of current issues. Parents, teachers, principals are still being bombarded with changes and uncertainty during continuing COVID times. All I can say is I'm glad elections are coming because clearly it's time for a change. I'd also say that I'm surprised that in none of the opening comments there was an honest conversation about Asian American violence, but I'm not surprised because the new leadership here exclusively talks about education through an anti-racism lens. It's a lens that routinely paints Asians as privileged and white adjacent. It makes anti-Asian speak okay and makes anti-Asian sentiment okay, which taken to the extremes makes anti-Asian violence okay. I'd like to congratulate this leadership for silencing parents in droves, making one of the most influential district CECs now irrelevant. I think this is unfortunate to our guest speakers, such as Devinder, who talked about budget, our elected officials who came to speak, and speakers who came to speak about ASD Nest. If new Superintendent Kelly McGuire cares to discuss why parents are upset with his current leadership and why these parents are not attending these meetings, please reach out to me. Pretty much all the panelists here know how to get a hold of me. And that's it.
Next speaker is Lawrence Asher. I'm sorry for not pronouncing your name right.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was on. Okay, so something that came up within the past 2 days, and I just thought I should speak about this. I asked about the algebra regions test at my kids' middle school. I was just asking about the date, and I learned, I basically got a note said, our 8th graders will have a waiver for the test and will automatically get credit for it. They're automatically crediting all the students for algebra. So in order to take the regions, you have to opt in. But this implies that they're going to just be crediting students who may not know the material. And just to reinforce it, my son came home from school today and the math teacher told him, or the math teacher told the class that they probably shouldn't take the test because if you get a poor score on it, you might not get credit. And if you don't take the test, if you don't take the test, you will get credit. And I don't know, I just find this disturbing. I think that if the school system now is going to start giving out credit for things that students may not know, I think that that's very concerning to everybody, because in ninth grade, there's an option. You know, some students might be going straight into geometry, and others may need to take algebra again if they don't know it. I would hope that perhaps with all these resolutions that I see made by this council, maybe there should be a resolution
Time.
about this. That's
You
all.
can finish. Okay.
Next speaker is Richard Conley.
And I just, before Richard, or while Richard is coming in, I just want to announce that we are going to close the speaker list. That being said, there is a second public session. So if you did get your name in the last 2 seconds, Sheena will check, but otherwise LaToya Jackson will be our last speaker in this first public session. And you can go ahead, Richard.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, my name is Richard Connolly, and I'm with the American Debate League. I apologize, I'm new to this format because I actually was typing something in the chat and then it made me go somewhere else and I thought I got kicked out, but luckily I'm still here. So everyone's smiling. So I just want to say, we're so happy because we're about to start our summer debate camp. It'll be virtual this year, but let me just back up and say, we work with we've partnered with over 100 schools to bring the power of public speaking, speech, and debate to children. And now our 5th summer camp we're going to have in partnership with Queens College. And we're so happy because, well, our main thing is we're promoting our Leaders of Tomorrow scholarship, where we're going to give 100 full and partial scholarships in the interest of diversity to give, so children will have that same opportunity to do that. So we do debate, all forms of debate from 4th grade to 12th grade. We do speech, poetry, acting, drama, and we're also so excited to offer a program that I've been wanting for a while as a former high school history teacher, mock trial for middle school and elementary students. So the reason why I came is just to let you know we're so excited, but also to congratulate you again. I'm not sure if some of you were here in December or November 2019. We presented you with a Chalice Cup, if you remember, because you won. See, I see you nodding your head. Yes. And I think I also saw you at District 17 too. We actually had, you won the cup because you did so well in your schools. We want to continue it. So we're going to email you the information to our program. It'll be on our website. We would love for you to share and let everyone know. And I am a debate coach and I am speaking fast because I think I only have about 10 seconds left, but I had to get it all out. So we'll send you information. We'd love having District 2 participate in our program. You've done it all 5 years to different levels. 2019 was great. Of course, we didn't have in 2020, but we look forward to it in 2021. So thank you, everyone. Okay.
Richard, would you put the links in the chat to the panelists, and then we can put that in the chat for all attendees to have the link to the debate camp. So thank you.
Great. Can I send a Word or a JPEG or no? Can I do that in there as well? Or no, that's right. Okay, because I didn't see it here. I'll email in our website. Is that it? Okay. Thank you.
Next speaker is Karen Kiesner.
Hi, I just wanted to add in for the ASD Nest program, for it to be open in District 2 on the Upper East Side. I'm a parent in the District 2, and I'm also an ASD Nest program special education teacher. I've seen the benefits of the program for the past 10 years in my classroom in East Harlem, and I see the benefits for the students with disabilities, for the students without disabilities. And I just think that it would be a great addition to the community that I live in to have this type of program here for all students. Thank you.
And our last speaker is LaToya Jackson.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I too want to, I guess, express my my want or wish for the ASD Nest program to be expanded, I guess, throughout the boroughs. I'm a mom of 2 boys on the spectrum. And right now, it's still a little early for us. We're transitioning out of early intervention into CPSC. And me being their parent, I see that this is going to be, a ongoing long haul in terms of me finding appropriate settings for my boys. So I would like this program to, to be expanded in hopes that once we get there, we have a smooth transition and, we can, I guess, I can keep advocating for appropriate education that would, help my boys to, be successful and sociable, in life. So again, I am in support or requesting that you guys support expansion of the ASD Nest program. Thank you.
Emily, that was the last of the speakers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shino, and thank you to all the public, elected officials, and obviously our UFT representative for coming out tonight and joining us. But there will be a second public session if the opportunity or if something you would like to say comes up, you can definitely go the second time. In the meantime, I would like to ask if Ed would like to give the president's report. Ed, you want to?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I would like just to say a few things about the information that I just received from fellow council member Shino Tanakawa about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which is authorized a continuation of assistance to families with children affected by school closures. And honestly, I can't think of any families that have not been affected by the pandemic and school closures, and how this program through the EBT program is providing funds, real money to families to help them make ends meet, to help them purchase food, to help their families. And, I often sit here and listen to many issues, but I like to think about concrete programs and programs that really help and give assistance to families so that families can have the things that they need so children can learn and they can begin to approach some sort of normalcy with respect to education. And these things are very important. So this program is being reauthorized. I know that families did receive the EBT cards some time ago. I don't know whether or not they've kept the cards, whether they understood that that the funds are again going to be available for them. If Shino has more information, I would ask her to share the information she does have. I think this is great for the families in District 2. And like I said, I think we need all the help that we can get. I also think that this resolution, the autism resolution, is great for Black and Latino families. In my experience, oftentimes children that are Latino and African American are really not given the services or the support that they need, and oftentimes they're just delegated to some special ed course or or a special ed class where they're not really given the evaluation that they need and the programs and the support that they need. So I'm wholly in favor of that resolution. I'm very proud of the sponsors and for coming up with that resolution. So that's all I have. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Robin, for running and Emily for running such a great meeting. Thank you very much.
Great. And then we would like to welcome Kelly McGuire, our District 2 Superintendent.
Thanks so much, Emily. It's great to be here tonight. And I do just want to start by sharing with folks that over the past couple of months, I've been spending a lot of time in our schools. And I can say that it does feel like schools are beginning to return to something closer to what we recognized in March 2020. The hallways and classrooms that were once very, very quiet when you enter the schools, now you can hear teachers and children. Older kids are socializing and little ones are sitting on the rug learning from their teachers. So the sounds of the schools are beginning to become those that we do love and so desperately need. And we're getting there. But I did actually want to start to say this evening, my report by saying that I am deeply saddened by how our friends in the Asian American Pacific Islander community have been subject to racism and bigotry throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and by the heightened level of violence toward the community in recent weeks. I'm sharing today on behalf of our district leadership to reassure you that the District 2 community is deeply committed to anti-racism, and we condemn all acts and hatred in all forms. In the recent days, I've been inspired by members of our District 2 community who have reached out to support our Asian American Pacific Islander staff members and those who serve large numbers of AAPI students. Teachers and principals have organized study groups and affinity spaces. Others are working on creating safe commutes to and from school for children and their families. In District 2 schools, we teach our students to serve as allies to those who are being harmed. Therefore, all of us can make a contribution to supporting our community at this time. Today, we learned about Summer Rising, the academic and enrichment program that we are in the process of planning for the coming summer. It is no doubt that planning a robust and meaningful summer program is challenging, but the Summer Rising program offers enormous flexibility and is guided by the vision that learning over the summer months can be so much more than what we think of when the words summer school come to mind. In District 2, there will be multiple sites, some of which offer programs for students in K-5, some 6 through 8, and some K through 8. The hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for elementary school aged kids and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for middle schoolers are designed to support families who cannot leave work to do a 3 p.m. pickup. These hours also offer the chance to create a truly comprehensive program, academic enrichment, as well as the opportunity to engage students in outdoor play and field trips to cultural institutions, city pools, and parks. The programs will be staffed by New York City Department of Education teachers, as well as staff from some of our amazing CBO partners, including Manhattan Youth, YMCA, and Immigrant Social Services. All COVID-related protocols will be taken to ensure that these programs are safe for the children and adults who will take part in them over the summer. Summer Rising is not summer school. Historically, a very small number of District 2 students are required to attend summer learning, but this year, the focus will be on creating the kind of program students want to attend versus must attend in order to be promoted to the next grade. If your child enjoys some of the programs and staff that support our current after-school programs in schools, then I believe that they will want to attend the Summer Rising program. This past weekend, I attended my daughter's first softball game of the season. Please know that the Blue Thunder are not on the top tier of girls softball teams for kids aged 13 to 15. During one transition in the middle of the innings, the umpire had to yell at the Thunder to take the field because they were too busy exercising bubblegum making skills that they were developing thanks to a 5-pound bucket of double bubble supplied by the center fielder. The girls took the field, but they really could have cared less. One parent turned to me and said, "Isn't it just wonderful that they're out here?" That led to 20 minutes of conversation amongst parents who all proclaimed how thankful they were to have softball back in their daughters' lives, as well as the camaraderie and fun that comes with it. I share this to say that I'm strongly recommending that your children attend the Summer Rising programs in our district this summer, if you don't have a plan for them to learn and play with children outside of their own family or outside of their home. Our children need this kind of learning, this kind of structure over the summer. More information will be shared with families through your child's school in the coming weeks. The window during which state exams can be administered begins next week with the ELA exams. As you know, New York State did ask for a waiver from the federal government to skip administration of these assessments this year, but that request was denied. I do not have a final tally of the number of students who are planning to take the exams. However, informal reports from schools reveal that the numbers are much larger than were expected, especially in 4th and 7th grades. We know that in the past, test scores from these two grades have been used in middle and high school admissions. Please note that the city has not released the admissions policies for children entering middle and high school in the fall of 2022. A quick note to families who have not opted their children into taking the state exams this year, that the city does require schools that screen to have an admissions rubric that does not include state exam scores if their standard admission policy normally takes these scores into consideration. So you're not penalized in the application process to a screen school if your child did not take exams. That goes for high school and middle school. The state exams this year are much shorter than normal. In previous years, the exams were conducted over 3 days. This year, the exams for both ELA and math will just be 1 day, and schools will have flexibility for the day and time at which they administer the exams. Students with disabilities, IEPs, 504 plans, and those who are learning English will continue to receive all of their accommodations and modifications. All students will continue to have unlimited time to take the exam. Please also note that in some instances, schools are adjusting their programs to accommodate the schedule for students taking the exam. This may be because there are significant numbers of students who are only learning remotely who are coming into the school to take the exam, or it may be due to the need to meet health and safety requirements in the building. Don't assume that there are any changes. Schools must inform you of any changes to your child's program well in advance. We also learned today about the new we got some information today about the new opt-in program started by Mayor de Blasio. We know that in New York City, over 50,000 students citywide opted back into blended learning, in-person learning. In District 2, this was just under 1,600 students, 1,594 kids are coming back into the buildings to participate in-person learning. You'll note that the last day for parents to opt their child in was last Friday, but please know that schools have been planning and preparing for new groups of students to come into the building or for the expansion of the number of days that their child will participate in in-person learning. So students are coming into the building because of new 3-foot guidance that the CDC, which is indicated that schools are safe spaces and that students can be safe with 3 feet of social distancing in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. So in order to begin to implement the 3-foot guidance, schools are required to hold a virtual town hall or meeting to explain how it is that they'll go about implementing this guidance. Families of kids in grades kindergarten through 5th grade should expect that this town hall will be held before April 26th. Please know that the CDC guidance and the current rate of COVID infection in the city, combined with local decision-making, is not yet permitting the 3-foot of guidance to be permitted in both our middle and high schools. So middle and high schools are still required to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. There's also a requirement for 6 feet of social distancing for times when children are eating in the cafeteria. When schools go about implementing the 3-foot guidance, first, they are going to ensure that all students whose families have opted them back into the building have a seat in the building. And then second, they will work to expand the number of days that children can come into the building. Room capacities have been adjusted, and the Office of Karen Goldmark, the Deputy Chancellor, has provided information to schools around the new health and safety measures for each of the rooms in their building. As I mentioned, there's additional guidance that was issued in regards to eating. And so 6 feet of social distancing is still required when students have their masks off to eat. However, our schools have have put forth a lot of very creative ideas about how it is that they're going to implement that guidance. In some cases, they're going to have a rotation of students who are heading out to the schoolyard to eat. In other cases, they will make use of hallways and other large spaces in the cafeteria, or excuse me, other large spaces in the school. And so we are working with those guidelines and making sure that we can welcome back as many students as possible into the building. As I mentioned, this has been a time that has been, as we all know, that this was a year in which there's all kinds of challenges that we confronted, but we did confront them. And I'm happy to say that District 2 is starting to feel like the District 2 that we all know and love. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Next, we have the committee reports.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Questions. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to ask
of
the superintendent just a quick question. First of all, Superintendent McGuire, I'd like to thank you for being so responsive to my many questions via email. I really appreciate that, and thank you very much. I had a question from a D2 parent regarding the state tests. She's a 4th grader. You partly answered it. I don't know if you can answer it, but I did promise to discuss it. If I understand, if you don't opt in this and you apply for middle schools, it won't be used. So that's not an issue. But if you do opt in for admissions process.
I'm sorry, Ben, that last part of the question I missed.
Yeah, it's just a nuance. I don't think you can answer it, but basically it's, if you take the test, does your score automatically be considered for a state test, an admissions process to middle school?
You are right. Yeah, I can't answer it yet, but if the city policy for screened admissions does allow for state exams to be used as part of the criteria, then those families that opted to have their child take the exam, then those would be counted. But again, the city is coming out with a more comprehensive policy about admissions for fall 2022.
Right.
And we'll know more then.
And I assume this the score becomes part of the New York City student account going forward under the assessment. So it stays with your record, because that's what the.
I would assume so.
Okay. You also mentioned that it's anecdotal, I guess, at this point, but that the numbers are surprisingly higher than expected. Do you know when you'll be getting the numbers going forward? When do you anticipate it?
Yeah, so schools have been given guidance to, accept any child whose family wants to have them take the exam up until exam day. There's really, this is a new system, and with new things, we try to give as much leeway as possible and be as flexible as possible. And so, but I won't know. I tried to get that information before the meeting tonight, but I didn't have it. And so by May's meeting, I should be able to report out on the number of kids who did take the exam in the district.
And will your office and the Dewey in general, will they be using the information they've gleaned from the tests for continuous improvement of students, teachers, curriculum? You know, will the information that we get from it be actionable? Or is that the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, I mean, the easy answer is yes. The more challenging question is, you know, just to what degree. Whenever we get information about our students and how they're performing, we take time to look at it. But it's just, it's you know, it's unknown. I think that, you know, we see in some schools kids taking the exam. I mean, again, this is very anecdotal, but we see in some schools kids taking the exam at greater rates than in other schools. And so it will be hard to, you know, draw any huge comparisons between the test scores in 2021 and those in, you know, prior to 2020. But I think that, you know, all information is worth looking at critically. And so we will certainly do that.
Okay. What I'm also confused about, and I don't know if that's, you know, it's a question for you or it's a question for NYSED, but these are, I assume these are nationally normed tests, but how do we scale them? Because it, like what you just mentioned, if the student population is not your normal student population, you know, it's not your normal bell curve, how is it scaled? And will the results also be used, maybe provided with national norms, so we can, because then you can understand the scale. Because here, you know, if it comes out and if it's skewed one way or the other, you know, the scale might not be representative unless the scale itself is part or is nationally known.
You know, the federal government suspended implementation of oh my gosh, the NAEP exam.
Yeah.
And so the NAEP is, you know, the only exam that's for school-aged kids that is really used to kind of get a snapshot of how we are doing as a country. But the, you know, the New York State exams are certainly tested and normed. I think that there will certainly be guidance that will come both from the state and I think from the New York City Department of Education here locally. You know, we may be able to look at the exams and think a little bit about them in terms of how individual students may have performed over time. But it will be hard to draw any it'll be hard to make any kind of sweeping judgments in terms of how it is that our students are doing. We'll just have to, you know, look at what we've got, listen to the statisticians who are working for, you know, DOE and the state, and see what it is that they're considering to be, you know, kind of reliable and valid data that can be used.
All right. Well, I understand, like the New York Times, they discussed this past week how maybe we're making too much of the COVID achievement gap in ways, but maybe we aren't, because we just don't know the evidence yet. We don't have the information. So I'm just curious how deliberate the DOE will be to finding that information and intervening where it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling best about data that are being collected on a smaller level by individual schools that have implemented, you know, different assessment systems that they have done for many years, and for which they have both start of year, mid-year, end of year benchmark scores that they can use to kind of evaluate the historical trend that's happening. And it's, you know, we don't use the same assessment in every single school in the district, but there are many schools that have used the same assessment for many years, and those schools are, you know, able to tell a story of how their students are doing, and they are certainly using those data to plan out the remainder of the year and also think about how it is that they want to address learning in the fall.
That's brilliant. And is that can we get de-identified data like that from schools and show their comparison year by year? I get it, it's not, you can't compare it to other schools, but it's within the school, because that's where you're going to make a difference. And you know, if you could share that, if we can learn as parents what's happening, I think that would allow for proper advocacy on behalf of children.
Yeah, well, I think it is. It's good information for families to have, and I think that, you know, as we, you know, approach, you know, getting in the end of the school year, schools will have certain data like reading levels, which I think that a lot of parents are familiar with, on the level at which their child's reading on kind of an A to Z scale. Those are information that and data that schools are feeling good about and have collected for a long time, and you know, are doing it in a way that's, you know, very similar. And it's been really interesting talking with different schools and understanding what it is that they're beginning to know about how their students are doing. And there's not one story. There's not, you know, there's not a single story of, you know, all students are in the tank and all students are, you know, doing better than they've ever done before. There's a lot of nuance to that, but it is good information.
Thank you for.
Oh, I just had one question, if I may. Yes, I just want to know, we had a speaker that talked about the algebra region and who brought up some questions about that. Would you be able to answer his questions?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And what I will say is that it is, there were a lot of changes that were happening in regard to what the state was doing with Regents exams, how the city was interpreting that. I can say that there is very good information that is happening at the school level, and this is not something that you know, we're going to see in a memo from the New York State Education Department. But what I can say is that we are working with our middle school principals and algebra teachers. The goal is really to support kids who are ready to take the exam, and teachers know who it is who's ready to take the exam. And so to really support teachers and families and principals who are administering the exam, support the kids who are ready to take it, have honest conversations with those families of children who are not ready to take it. And that's fine. You know, we've had more and more kids taking algebra across the district in recent years. And there's a lot of benefits that come from introduction to that curricula at an early age. But our goal, and I think that we can reach it, is for kids who are ready to take that exam, who would then be ready to advance on into more advanced mathematics once they get to high school. We want those kids to take the exam, and we want to make sure that families are fully aware of what happens when students who don't take the exam either receive the credit or they take the exam and get a poor grade. Those are kids that just may not be ready for advanced mathematics in high school. And so we want to make sure that families are aware of that choice. I've also been talking with high school superintendents about this same issue. And I do not think that it is going to be something that is just going to pass, that if a student shows, a ninth grader shows up in high school with Algebra 1 credit on their transcript, they're not just automatically going to be passed into the next level. Where they're going to high schools are thinking now that they're going to have to do some local assessment with kids and then determine who it is that should really be reintroduced to the Algebra 1 curricula as a ninth grader.
Can I step in just for 1 second and mention why? Because some parents who might be on here might not realize that the reason why to take the algebra regents, why it might be worthwhile if your student is ready for it, is that it gets you on track to one of the, I guess, program initiatives that the mayor had mentioned in previously, that it gets you on track to take calculus by senior year. And otherwise you run into that problem where you can't take, you have to take pre-calculus or something else one summer in order to make up for that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And just if I could throw one more thing in there too, is that Algebra 1 is an enormous gatekeeper for kids graduating from high school. It is the Regents exam. Under the systems that we currently know and understand in regards to what it takes to graduate from high school with a Regents exam, the Algebra 1 exam is the gatekeeper, and a lot of kids struggle to pass that. And introducing that curricula earlier to kids has been demonstrated as one of the ways that kids who may have previously struggled with that exam are actually doing better in high school. It's also a matter of some schools have just not been offering algebra regents to kids. This is, going back historically, I think that schools are doing a lot better now. But, we saw only schools with the highest performing kids offering the algebra regents exam. And so there has been a movement to at least offer that course in a bunch of other schools where there are plenty of kids who, as you said, Ben, could really get on this track to be in calculus, to take calculus before they graduate from high school.
Great, thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yeah, go Robin.
Hey, I'm gonna ask Kelly, I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked you last month, which is, don't you remember? No. Any
I can answer it effectively, I guess. So.
No, I'm sure it's the same answer, and it's not any failure on your part, but is there any guidance from Central about how they're going to be assessing families that expressed interest in gifted and talented?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's useful in its own way.
Great. Anybody else? Any other council members have questions for Kelly while he's here? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for your report and thorough answering of the questions. That was fantastic. And next we have our committee reports. So I'd like to start with the diversity committee. Shino, do you have a report on that?
I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's not strictly speaking a committee report, but I do want to share with the people in the meeting that it's not as if we're not doing anything about anti-Asian hate. As an East Asian woman myself, looking the way I do, every time I go out the door, I think about it. And I actually worry about myself often. So for somebody to make a comment that we're not doing anything, I find slightly offensive and upsetting. But it's not about me. I have been working with principals in Chinatown to see what the CEC can do to support the families in Chinatown. A lot of them have selected fully remote. Many of them are afraid of sending their children outside of their home. So we are trying to figure out how we can support them emotionally and also instill in them the sense of pride and a sense of their history. So we are doing a lot. We just didn't make an acknowledgement at the beginning of the meeting, which maybe we should have. But that doesn't mean we're not doing anything about it. Many of us are engaged in the anti-Asian racism space. I was part of the organizer for the rally that happened a couple of Saturdays ago. So rest assured that members of this council are working to dismantle racism against Asians and against all people of color. So I just wanted to mention that. I'll save the rest of the stuff for the, oh, wait. One thing I wanted to mention about the pandemic EBT. If you still have your pandemic EBT card from last school year, please hold on to those cards. As Ed mentioned, we will have money coming. The details are still in the works. The state has to figure out how we are going to divvy up the money. But when they figure out how much each student will be receiving, it's going to be automatically put onto that card that you received last year. We'll definitely find out what happens if you don't have that card anymore. So we'll definitely share information as it becomes available. Thanks.
Great. Thanks so much. Multilingual committee, Maud, do you have a report? I don't know if Maud can hear me. If she has a multilingual committee report. All right. Eric, do you have a zoning and capital planning? I'm not sure if there's anything on zoning.
Yeah, there's, oh, thanks, Emily, but no, nothing to report.
Great. Remote learning committee. Ben, did you have anything to add or say about remote learning committee?
No, it's just I've joined a few groups and everyone is tired of remote learning. So at this point, I think maybe we should just wind this down because
okay.
Except I do want to mention in terms of my role as treasurer, you know, that the budget, I guess, has been amended by Tiffany Wallace. And so I guess the funds are there now for students in temporary housing to, I think we've allotted 17,000 for supplies. And I guess the students in temporary housing committee can talk more to that.
Perfect.
But that's exciting. And I'm just wondering if we can also, if we might have some other funds to be used for some of the technology suggestions that were subscriptions that we're looking to, that Tom had mentioned that wanted to be purchased. And I since we have Superintendent McGuire here, maybe he can speak to whether there is a need for that and whether that can be also done, because I think we might have some funds left over since this webinar costs, according to Robin, aren't as expensive as.
You know what, I'm going to actually move that to the working business meeting, if you don't mind, Ben. I mean, maybe we can catch up with you, Kelly. I know sometimes you don't stay for the working business meeting, but just because I just want to get to the committee reports. And if in the students in temporary housing report, we have that, I'd like to just go in that order, if you don't mind, Ben. And then the screening committee.
Will the superintendent be with us during the business meeting? Because they're not, he's not, that's not typically the norm for superintendents to stay with us.
Yeah, I can stay for and share out in regards to that. And I think I'd sent a couple things via email earlier, but I'm happy to stay and talk.
That would be fantastic. We'll put that first on the agenda. We'll move that up. Screening committee. Ben, did you have anything about the screening committee?
There is no more. I'm not on the screening committee. There was
okay, great.
Tom wanted to be on that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, great. Students with Disabilities Committee. We had our ASD Nest meeting, and we met in a smaller group this time to work on this resolution, which I'm excited to present next, and really excited to have the ASD Nest community here, parents speaking. I do want to announce that in conjunction with Community Board 2, Schools and Education Committee, CEC1, CEC4, CEC3, and I think CEC6, and a bunch of other schools and education committees from community boards around the borough. On May 3rd, we will be presenting a panel discussion called Dyslexia and Language-Based Learning Disabilities, what to look for and how to advocate for your child. It sort of takes parents through the IEP process, some things they should know about reading, and there's advocates for children will be speaking, Include NYC. We have a great panel that we are starting to put together. So that's May 3rd. I believe it's a Monday or a Tuesday, sorry, and it is at 6:30. So please save the date, and there'll be more details to follow. And that will be our next committee meeting. Sorry, it's Monday, May 3rd at 6:30. Great. Students in Temporary Housing Committee. Dushma or Tom, do you want to give that report?
I'll give a quick update. So after the budget was passed, we ended up with $17,378 to devote to supplies for students in temporary housing, which is phenomenal and a really wonderful gesture that our committee will get to help some of our students in the most need. We did have a meeting. Thank you to all of the council members that joined. We had a nice turnout to talk through what the various options were for allocating that money and how to do the most for this community. There are a number of hoops to jump through, a number of roadblocks that made the choices perhaps less wide than we would have ideally hoped for, but we have come up with a few really terrific ideas that we are moving forward with. We will be providing both backpacks as well as middle school calculators, as well as graphing calculators, a smaller number of graphing calculators for high school students. Shino has taken the lead happily in reaching out to the principals of PS2, PS116, and PS33 in order to be able to act as hubs for receiving some of those materials at each of the sites. And we will soon be working out what the logistics look like. We will probably ask for some volunteers to help us to go to those hub sites to help us to redistribute some of the materials. But we're doing a good thing, and Shino has been extremely helpful to Tom and I and the rest of the committee around working through what the purchasing will look like and making sure that we get that done before the money goes away. Kelly also had provided some insights after speaking with many principals about what their electronic and subscription needs might be. And so further to what Ben was referencing, we might have an opportunity to continue to provide some reading resource memberships to students in temporary housing, but I think that will come after we have allocated the larger portion of our budget to backpacks and calculators. We had some really wonderful community engagement as well. Some teachers who have been very engaged in this space. And we will also, as soon as I can carve out the time to do it, be restarting the project that we launched last year that involved several of the people who are attending, to whom we are very thankful, where we will be matching shelters and schools such that a school community could help to meet the needs of a shelter community via Amazon wish lists that are fulfilled and sent directly to shelter shelters to be distributed. This worked extremely well last spring, and we will be renewing those efforts momentarily. And we have some wonderful community members, fellow parents who are planning to join us in that effort in organizing. Tom, did I miss anything?
No, that was very comprehensive. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you all so much, and really very, very exciting for our community and for the council. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Excellent. All right, next up, we have the presentation of the resolutions. And since this is a resolution that came out of my committee, I just want to say again, thank you so much to the ASD Nest families who were able to participate both in the committee meeting and also to help me craft this resolution. And also to Shino and Robin, my co-sponsors, who were able to really sort of give some great feedback and give some positive additions to the resolution. I just wanted to give a little shout out. I have been fortunate enough to have met a woman by the name of Dorothy Siegel, who was a council member, a CEC member. It was the school board back then, but also was a parent leader. The ASD Nest program was basically a group of parents who had ASD, children who were on the spectrum, and they created this program themselves through advocacy work, really from a grassroots level. And they worked for really years at the grassroots level. And I have had the really honor and pleasure of speaking with her about her program and about students with disabilities in general, and how the DOE goes about identifying and then of course, teaching them in classrooms. And I feel like she is really the grandmother of special education, or the sort of the new special education. For many, many years, children with special needs were warehoused, particularly children of color. And when she was first in District 15 and had a son with autism, she went into schools and said she just could not understand why children without special needs, who simply were children of color, were in special needs classrooms, basically warehoused with essentially no instruction. Meanwhile, children with special needs who did need extra support and needed special types of teaching were just left to sort of swing along in their classrooms. And she and a group of dedicated parents really came together and have absolutely structurally changed how we teach students with disabilities. So I just want to give Dorothy Siegel and a bunch of the women who she worked with, and I'm sure there were men too, but there were a lot of women, full props, because they are really at the heart of this. Anyway, she read over the resolution. She had a lot of really good things to say. One of the things she did say was that basically, at this point, there is no one who is identified in kindergarten who doesn't get a seat. So she just wanted me to make sure to say that to parents, because I think there are a lot of parents with kids with disabilities who really have a lot of fear. And so this resolution is not to put fear out there that you won't get a seat. You will get a seat. But that is not to say that we can't expand our program. Our programs within our school district, and then also in other districts. She did say that the DOE right now is focused particularly in places in the South Bronx, Central Brooklyn, and North Staten Island that have populations that are very underserved and have no NEST programs that are even remotely close. But again, she said that, this is a really amazing program, and she, thinks that there are ways to expand it, particularly with new monies that are coming in. So Anyway, the other thing that she really did say that is that the NEST program for kids for whom it is the right program, it is really the place to be. There are some parents who get nervous about putting their kid in a special program, even though this is a full inclusion program, and they decide to leave their child in a general education program with a para. And she feels really very strongly that because of the teacher training that her teachers go through, or the teachers in the program go through, that it is really essential that parents get themselves into either the NEST program or the Horizon program, and that there is no dearth of seats, at least for kindergartners, for children who are identified. She did say that identifying children is a key piece. And I was really happy to hear parents speak up about identification, and classroom teachers in gen ed settings really do need to be trained and to understand what to look for, signs, and to understand the difference between both the ASD NEST program and the ASD Horizon program, and also District 75 programs, and where their child really should land. And that gen ed teachers often are the ones who see this, because students sometimes are not identified in these early education programs. Anyway, the resolution stands for itself. I'm super proud of it, mostly because it has allowed me to get to know families that I haven't before. And you know, I'm just really excited about this community and hope to see it grow in D2, fostered by not only this Education Council, but by Kelly and the amazing work that he does, I know, with our students with disabilities populations. So thank you so much.
I have a question if we're up for questions.
Absolutely.
So how, I don't understand if it's a general, if the students are integrated into general classrooms, how this would allow for more opportunities to integrate our schools racially and socioeconomically.
So basically, in a number of different ways. First of all, children who are identified under the ASD NEST program are not necessarily going to a classroom that is in their neighborhood school. So it does promote, I mean, obviously we're advocating here for the expansion of the program, but there's not going to be one in every single neighborhood. So it is not necessarily constricting you to your neighborhood school that you would be assigned to, and therefore bound by, you know, housing, you know, basically the structural racism of housing that is very, very difficult to combat. So, you know, that is part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. Does that make sense, Tom?
I mean, I guess I was thinking that these programs would be spread out throughout the district, so that they would have the programs in, you know, poor areas.
Well, they would too. I mean, okay. and so, for example, right now, the ASD NEST program that exists in the elementary school is at PS 42, which is in the Lower East Side, or actually, sorry, it's in Chinatown, but, you know, sort of on the edge of Lower East Side. So, yeah, I mean, that is definitely in a part of our district that is traditionally less well off. But that doesn't mean that there aren't. So basically, if you are identified as having ASD NEST, I'm sorry, if being like a proper fit for an ASD NEST program, you would automatically not necessarily go to your neighborhood school. So for example, you might be in, I don't know, PS3 in a, you know, wealthy, you know, district and go there, or you might be at, you know, from a neighborhood that isn't less wealthy, but you would go to a school that had an ASD NEST program. Does that make sense?
I kind of, yeah. I mean,
it doesn't to me. If you're going to expand the programs to every location,
it wouldn't
then
be.
You're not going to get that integration. So I don't know how that works.
It wouldn't expand the program. There's no way, there's no possibility to expand the ASD NEST program to every school. That's not a possibility. What we're advocating for is just more than one school within our very large district. And
I agree with that. I just don't understand. I don't. You're making a point in the resolution. I'm reading the resolution kind of for the first time because April 7th it wasn't on the agenda, and then April 8th, I guess no one mentioned that it was added to the agenda. Yvette, who was amazing at this, she said in January she would mention, "Are there any more resolutions? We got a new resolution. We didn't see this. I saw this Monday, so I read it a little bit of Monday and reading again. Next time it would be kind of nice to just allow for more collaboration so we can read this and discuss it amongst the council members. But
sure,
I don't know how you improve integration if you're expanding it, unless you want to move people around, don't you? Or
so here's the way it works.
Actually, if I could just jump in quick for a moment, Emily. I just think, probably we're getting caught up on what is not the primary point of this resolution. So at least from my perspective, the primary driver of this resolution is to provide services for families and students on the autism spectrum. And I think we should focus on that aspect of it. Clearly if there's questions about others, but
okay, let's go to another
for
point.
Me,
wait, can I just say?
For me, that's the place I think their focus should be.
I agree with you, but on the resolution, you want us to vote on all these whereas points. You're indicting the DOE by saying, it's structurally racist, and that's what contributed to this poor deliverance of ASD Nest to other programs. I mean, you're saying that in the whereas.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that by expanding the program, because when you get placed, you don't necessarily get placed in a neighborhood program, though it would be good. I mean, in a perfect ideal world, you would want to have this really very, very close to your neighborhood, and maybe be in your neighborhood school. That is not possible. We know that is not possible. But currently in District 2, which is the largest school district in the system, we only have one elementary school that has it. That doesn't mean that somebody would not be placed in an ASD Nest program. They just might be placed somewhere slightly further. Right now, currently, you might be placed in a program in East Harlem, for example, a teacher who is here tonight. Somebody from East Harlem might be placed in one. Now, if there are extra seats, somebody from District 3 or 4 or 5 might be placed in one that is. Now, is that ideal for them? No, only because we would ideally like it to be directly in your neighborhood. But currently, is only, so it's two things, right? It's the fact that there should be more, and there should be more throughout the city. But also we realize that while we're getting to more, this also does promote, integration. It helps promote integration.
Emily, are you saying that if you're living in a low income part of the district, say in the southern part of the district, maybe Chinatown, then you can, and if your family needs the service because your child is on the spectrum, then there is a program now where there was not before that you can apply to and gain access to, and it's sort of like income blind, or it sort of doesn't matter where you live or where you're coming from, then you can apply and go to PS3.
Yes, and in fact, you don't actually have to have an ASD Nest diagnosis, because we know actually that diagnosis itself is, unfortunately, families who have the means to get diagnoses do. Many families of color are missed, unfortunately. So, even just the mere suggestion of, a teacher or even a parent can say, hey, I think my child would be right for this program. And there is a screening method that is done actually through NYU that is a battery of tests that can show whether this is the correct, would be a good program, a good fit. And then they would, and that is the same holds true for the ASD Horizon program. So basically what I'm saying is that if you were from a low income neighborhood, even if your neighborhood school may be, you know, a Title I school and all, you know, children with free and reduced lunch, you might still be placed in a program that is a high income, in a high income neighborhood. So I'm just saying that that is an added benefit to expanding this program.
I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Emily, I have a question. Let's say, you know, everything works out and the program's expanded. I'm in favor for programs that meet student needs in all directions. But we had a travesty this year with the dual language program, the French dual language program, being rejected by the executive superintendent. And I wasn't in on the meeting, so I can't really say what she said. Aside from hearing that, partly to blame for budget reasons. So I assume maybe now they can reinstate it, the French dual language program. But what's to say this happened, you know, come next year when if funds are worse off, and you know, and in the Biden administration, you cite the Biden administration as a reason why to go forward with this, providing funds. What's to say that, you know, it's one and done, like what they did to the dual language program?
So the way this works, well, first of all, there is a federal law called Free and Appropriate Public Education. And that basically says it is your fundamental right to receive a public education in the manner in which you must be taught. So if you are a student who is on the spectrum and there is a program that allows you to be in a general education setting with this program, it's a federal right. It must be funded. So students who are identified for this program must be in this program. I mean, that's just really how it works. I mean, obviously, if it's you know, they want to have children be able to receive an appropriate public education, and that's sort of the law under which. So it's not a program that's like and believe me, I'm not saying that the French dual language program is a bad program, but children can get a public education, an appropriate public education, without it being a dual language program. If you know what I mean, Ben.
Not exactly that last part there, because the money follows the student, and I don't see why the dual language program.
I'm just saying it's under a totally different, they're totally separate things. An ASD Nest program, you know, if it is under a federal law, basically saying if you're a student with disabilities, that you should be provided a setting in which you can learn to the maximum of your ability.
Okay.
And sorry, I have a couple more questions. Apologies. So I mean, I think it's a great program. I just quite, why did you bring in G&T identification? And I mean, that seems to be such a hot button issue. I mean, it has nothing to do with the ASD program at all. I mean, parents are upset by the G&T. I mean, I just don't understand the logic there.
No, I didn't bring in the G&T program. I just said that, wait, hold on, sorry.
It's the like issues with G&T identification, the burden for ASD Nest identification often falls on the parents, which can lead to inequity.
Yeah.
What is the burden? I mean, the G&T identification, there was a test.
What I'm saying is, right? if you don't know, so in the same way that many, listen, well, all I'm acknowledging is many people say that, you know, if you take the G&T test, if everyone, they should offer it to everyone. Currently, right. This test to see if you are right for this program is not, many people don't even know about it. So all I was trying to say there is for people who believe that G&T testing should be offered for everyone, I was trying to offer something for everyone, right?
Oh, okay, all right, I see where you're going. I just didn't understand the reference in the beginning. So you're saying it should be universally given to everyone, like the G&T
just
test
the
should be
acknowledgement. If we have, listen, if we have a G&T program, right, where we clearly can debate the merits of that, but certainly we should make the people able and to take those types of tests. This program is not very widely known. It's hard for parents to understand how to identify. Even in District 2, parents who may really understand and know the system and be able to work systems very well, people get confused with Nest plus M. Like there's so many confusing parts to this that people are missed. They are missing out, basically. They aren't identified.
No, that makes sense. I just wasn't following. Thank you. And just one more question, just for costs. I don't know if you know anything about it. Is it cost neutral because we'd be sending these students to expensive programs outside the schools anyway, or would it cost more or less? I know we have more money, but it's not all guaranteed. And there's been a suicide at my daughter's middle school, for instance. There's all sorts of problems that we have. Just having an idea of how much it would cost might be helpful.
It's very difficult to sort of tease out what programs cost. Actually just was at a program yesterday with the Independent Budget Office, where they're trying to tease out Carter cases and Connor cases where people sue the DOE in order to get reimbursement for private special education schools. That basically has skyrocketed over the last number of years. Here we have and by the way, that is also inequitable, right? Because you have to do something like hire a lawyer. These things cost money and time and effort, and they just aren't accessible to most people. People who have means obviously are able to do that type of thing, but that is not what the public school system is all about. And here we have a program that enables people to stay within their public school system. It's beneficial to not only a population that is extremely vulnerable, but also, is beneficial to also gen ed students who are in that program. It is also the training for teachers is just excellent training in general. I feel like, one of the things that is really exciting in speaking not only to teachers who were at our committee meeting, but also to Dorothy herself, is that these are best practices actually for teachers, where if they did leave the program eventually, they would take these skills to whatever classroom they were in. They are good, executive functioning skills, and just a whole host of different skills that they bring. And so it's excellent training in general. So in any case, yes, it does cost money. No, it is not net neutral, but I think right now is a great time to expand this program.
Hey, Tom, I just want to mention that the ASD Nest program that is in the middle school, high school that you list was actually at my former middle school, and we in the parent association had supplemented the program with, I guess, logistical support while they were getting up and running. In their first year, they needed some extra funding from the parent association to finance, I think, supplemental materials and other things like that. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that our parent association at the time was able to do that. I'm not sure that every parent association would be in a position to provide that supplemental funding that might be necessary, depending on what needs arise. Because I think we all learned that under the student funding formula, you get a certain amount per student, whether they're ASD, well, some students get a slightly different amount, but the actual costs may exceed what's available on a per student basis. So just to respond to your comment a little bit. And a little bit off topic, I think there's a typo in your resolution.
Oh, sorry.
You talk about an ASD nest set in the whereas about racial inclusion. So whatever happens.
Oh, I will definitely correct that. Thank you, Vincent. I apologize.
Emily, you mentioned in one of the whereas that the students participate in state testing in New York State math and English ELA exams. Is the data tracked? I mean, do we know how students do before they've entered the program versus after entering the program? Do we know that the NEST programs have been, you know, beneficial? I assume they have, but do we have data on that too?
I don't actually have data. It's hard to sort of get specific data that way. I do know the programs are incredibly successful. And in fact, many schools, I know that it started out actually in Brooklyn, and it started out in a school that was at the time considered failing. And it completely became a school that everyone wanted to go to because it's such a successful program, but not just for the gen ed students, but also for the children on who are on the spectrum.
You also mentioned that NYU does the testing for the students.
Oh, they not only do the testing, but they do the training, and they do all the teacher training for this program. And it's really a very, very special partnership between NYU and the DOE. Actually, they don't do the testing. I'm sorry, the DOE does the testing, but it was created, the tests were created in conjunction, I believe, with NYU, but all the teacher training. And the thing that's very exciting about the program is that it's not just the classroom teachers who are trained, everyone in the building, everyone who interacts with those children throughout the day are given this training. So the child is supported really from literally the bus all the way through till home. And then there are also family supports as well, programmatic information that, you know, webinars and things like that families can participate in. So it's really an incredibly supportive environment for the child and the family.
I'm not familiar with this program, True Inclusion. What is that?
So an inclusion classroom means that the child with a disability is not segregated at any time during the day. So it's not, it's you would walk into the classroom and you wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, those are the kids who are on the spectrum. The idea is that the classroom is functioning
do these students get bullied? That's still my concern. I mean, do the teachers, are they trained to deal with the?
That's what the training is all about.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I know this is sort of outside what we normally do, but if there is an ASD Nest teacher who, I don't know if she's still in the audience, I would love to elevate her voice right now just to speak about her experience in the classroom, if the council would be okay with that.
I think it would be brilliant. I think it would be great to have an expert.
So I think, I don't know if she's still here, and I can't remember her name offhand. Maybe if you're still here and you just want to raise your hand. I feel bad that I don't remember her name and I can't see it in the participant list, but she did speak, but she might have had to go because she's a teacher.
What's her name? I keep checking.
I was just going to say, she came to our committee meeting and she did speak this evening, but I cannot, let's see.
Because we only have 30
yeah, was it
attendees.
Was it Karen Kiesner? Maybe it was Karen. Yeah, it just seems like she may have left. unfortunately. In any case, she came to my committee meeting and really spoke about what the classroom is like and the special things that they do, but also that she really spoke so eloquently about the fact that, again, these are best practices for all students. They feel also as though they're getting the instruction that they need. So they do things like, she said a lot of times they'll turn the lights off and make the room sort of cool. Again, this is helpful to all kindergartners, things that are helpful to regulate, and, a lot of social emotional learning that are filtering into our gen ed classrooms often come from the special education world. We know that these techniques work for all kids. But when you ask, is there bullying? I don't know if there's a classroom that exists really that doesn't have bullying. The thing that this is designed to do is to take those moments and really help both children work through. Like, there was an example that I saw on one of the websites. I know, it was actually a New York Times article that talked about, it talked about a misunderstanding where one student said something and she had this big smile, and the child who was on the spectrum misinterpreted it, and it hit the student with who reacted a way that they didn't understand. And there was this moment where the teacher was able to say, okay, now let's slowly go through what happened here, could explain not only to the child who was on the spectrum, but to the young girl who was in the classroom, why, if I did this, would somebody react that way? That did not seem what would be a normal interaction. The teacher was not only able, but trained, and there was time and breath within the classroom day to handle that situation. And both students end up benefiting. So I don't know if I can't even remember what question somebody was asking me. And listen, I am not an expert on this by any means, but I was able, really, as I said, privileged to have several conversations now with Dorothy Siegel, and also several conversations with, we had some teachers in this committee meeting, and parents, so.
Emily, just my last question here, because you have a number of therefores, and you're calling for studies, and you're urging the DOE, and I know the council is just, our resolutions are a way of persuading the DOE to go a certain path. But for these studies that you're calling for, what do you want to find that triggers the DOE to then respond and expand and promote these programs?
I guess I just think, obviously no one, certainly in this time, wants funds to go where they're not needed. Obviously, the DOE has priorities that they are dealing with, but also I think it's important certainly for Kelly to, understand the landscape. We have a large and sort of a geographically large district. There are special circumstances where it's difficult for parents to travel, and especially with students with special needs. In any case, I guess what I'm calling for is some data to really understand. We have some parents who showed up at a meeting, and then who showed up at a committee meeting saying that this is a need. And I think, it's really important to listen to that and get a lay of the land. Also, so we can understand, where is the need? What is the need? Maybe, I know that these parents are fantastic and they're calling for something on the Upper East Side. Is the Upper East Side even the right location? I don't know that. I know that that's what they want, and I want to listen to them, but also, I know that if I came back and I said, actually, the place where there's really a need is X, that they, you know, we can have some data so that I can share that with them. Yeah.
I'd like to say that, you know, once I spoke to my super in the building, and he had a son, and his son had a disability, and he had to be taken out of the local school, and his father had to take him to a private school. And so I asked him how he was doing, and he told me that, oh, he's in this school, and now we have to get a lawyer, and now this lawyer has to sue the Department of Education, and we have to pay for the lawyer, but the lawyer will pay us back when we get the money. And I just thought it was ridiculous. I was like, what the hell is going on? So I didn't understand his situation. I felt sorry for him because his child had a disability, and it just seemed so inefficient and costly, the whole process that he was going through. And it just seems that you're trying to, you know, improve that situation or make it better by having these programs available for more students. So I don't understand how they're doing it, but it just doesn't seem cost effective, what this gentleman was telling me. And it just seemed to be very burdensome for him and for the family. And ultimately it cost him a lot of money, and he had to wait for the money to, you know, to be reimbursed. So I just think that if you're doing something to help that person and to help other families in his situation, that's a good thing.
Right, and I would just add before we head to the public comment session that, you know, to me, the main idea that was identified is that we have one program in this district for elementary school students to serve ASD. We have a large geographic district that will require students and families to travel great distances at great inconvenience in order to get services. So I think, you know, the headline to me is that we want more local programming to serve these students in this community. And the hope is in this resolution that we'll leave it to the DOE to explore further and identify the specific locations of those needs and those needs themselves. We've heard the anecdotal evidence, and at least for me, after hearing the other public comment, I'm certainly ready to move forward just based on that fact alone, that there is, you know, one program in elementary, middle, and high school serving all of District 2.
Okay, so do we call the question? Do we?
Oh, I think we go to public comments session now, the second public session. Thanks, Ed. So Shino, do you want to take over?
Hold on 1 second. I'm adding one more speaker right now.
Yes, I should just say, actually, so we'll move to the second public session. Again, you can speak up, you can sign up to speak a second time within this second public session. This starts afresh. It will also, again, be 2 minutes. Robin, I don't know if you were able to put in the chat one more time, if you can put in the chat the link to sign up, but it is somewhere way back in the chat, so maybe we can put it in again. So yes, at this point, anybody who would like to speak in the second public session, please sign up.
Okay, the first speaker is Tara Bibko.
I'm assuming that's top, not Tara, so that's who I've promoted to panelist.
Oh, do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. Hi, my name is Tara Bibko. I'm also the mother of a neurotypical child at PS 158 and also a 4-year-old who has ASD. I don't even know if she would qualify for the NEST program, but you should be expanding the NEST program and the Horizon program, as that the DOE, as of last year, has paid $325 million to pay tuitions, and that includes lawyer fees and everything else. So basically, yes, like Edward said, it will be saving the DOE plenty of money. I'm also a DOE teacher who supports the program because my current principal, Emery Latieri Baker, is the principal who did the pilot program at PS32. So I can tell you from a firsthand basis what a lovely woman she is and how much she fights for special ed. In addition to that, many principals on the Upper East Side, including my zone school, are very hesitant to bring in this program because they actually are discriminating against special ed children. It's not just about the color of your skin or whatever, it's about now your abilities and your disabilities. So I feel that it should be expanded. Not in every school, I understand that, but in at least that your child is not on the bus for 2.5 hours or having to go to another borough, so parents don't have to bring their children and figure out play dates and everything else. This program is to build social connections, not just in the classroom, outside the classroom, because that is what the children of ASD currently need, more social skills. In addition to that, NEST program, which I think needs to be expanded, the Horizon as well. So I push for both programs. And if you'd like to get in touch with Amory Latieri Baker, just send her an email because she's very happy that I'm trying to expand the program that she helped pilot so many years ago. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kaushik Das.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Hi, apologies for drawing away from the NEST discussion, but since this is my only opportunity to comment, I did want to discuss the Asian violence again, since it was brought up by Ms. Tanikawa in her comments. I wasn't actually talking about her when discussing leadership, because as far as I know, she has an appointed position and doesn't hold a currently elected office, unless I'm mistaken. But since she brings it up, she can be as offended as she likes, but it has been mentioned by many parent speakers in previous meetings that she does not speak for how D2 minority parents feel, much less Asian parents. She missed and glosses over the fact that she's actually part of the problem. Again, when education is discussed predominantly or often exclusively through an anti-racism lens, her and her allies routinely, implicitly, and explicitly paint Asians as privileged and white adjacent, which again makes anti-Asian speak okay and anti-Asian sentiment okay, which taken to the extremes is quite bad for anti-Asian violence. She can talk to the Asian community as much as she likes after the fact. She has to understand that what she says and does contributes to the problem. It has been brought up by many parents that her viewpoints and dialogue, including myself, routinely pits minority groups against each other. Ms. Tanikawa, it was nice of you to indirectly swipe at me from your position appointed and protected by Gail Brewer with your unlimited time while I have to speak in 2-minute spurts. And so much for this being a safe place for parents to voice their grievances. Yes, mine was barbed, but legitimate. If you'd like to be educated further on this topic, I'm happy to engage you on equal footing. You know how to reach me.
Next speaker is Jen Soltis.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me again. I spoke previously in the meeting about my support for the ASD Nest resolution, and I just wanted to speak up again after hearing Emily present the resolution and some of the questions that were addressed, and in particular around the diversity issue, which, in my opinion, that is a subtopic of what Emily is presenting with this resolution as a way of supporting it. And just, to get my point of view as a parent of a child who is diagnosed on the spectrum, I do see it as an opportunity to provide more socioeconomic and racial diversity in schools across Manhattan. As Emily mentioned, it's very unlikely that there's going to be a program in every single school throughout District 2. I personally have the privilege of living in one of the wealthier neighborhoods. I live in the Upper East Side, and I personally would love for my child to be able to go to a program in his local school, because arranging play dates and getting him to interact with his peers in settings outside of school is really difficult. So trekking across town would just be a disaster if I had to arrange that. However, there are some students who qualify for the program. Perhaps they live in parts of Harlem, and they don't have the privilege of right now sending their child to an Upper East Side school that is known to be, quote unquote, a good school. With this program, they have the opportunity to apply and give their child an opportunity to integrate with other students that they might not normally integrate with. So there are definitely benefits from diversity. I know it seems a little bit odd or flip-flopping, but that's kind of my take on it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kate Welch.
Hi, I apologize. It cut out. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say again, a good evening, everyone. I'm also a parent of a child on the autistic spectrum and supporting the motion of expanding the footprint of the ASD NEST program in District 2. Current numbers show that 1 in 54 children is diagnosed with autism. And so obviously the support needs of those children vary, but I think that the ASD NEST program has shown to be a highly effective way of including our children in mainstream education. I also want to say that, the neurodiversity movement is gaining a lot of momentum and a place on the stage these days. So I think it's very important to recognize and also to support the need for an appropriate learning environment for all of our children. And I also want to say that I disagree with the comment that expansion defies integration, because I think at this point it is a numbers game. I mean, if the supply is far below the demand for these programs, then there is a need to expand that, and that isn't in reference to a need of integrating students based on socioeconomic. It's a neurodiversity demand as well. And also in regards to the question of whether bullying is more prevalent among these children, I mean, there are many scholarly articles published to support that fact, unfortunately. And that goes along with high comorbidities of depression in children as well as adults who are on the spectrum. So I think that bullying, while common among many children across many ages, it's shown that it is higher as well in children on the spectrum. So I think that if we can support children at a young age and have them included and respected and valued at a young age, that's important. So I just wanted to voice my opinion that I strongly support these programs, and I appreciate the advocacy that's being done. Thank you.
That was the end of the speakers list.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Yikes, and I lost my agenda. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I guess now we go to the voting on resolutions.
I move that we vote for approval of the resolution.
Second.
Great. Vincent, do you want to do a roll call vote?
I will do that. So on the matter of the resolution to promote or engage in studies to expand the ASD NEST program in District 2 and citywide, how do you all vote? Robin Broshi,
Yes.
Eric Goldberg,
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Hellstrom? I will vote yes. Edward?
Yes.
Maud Marin?
Yes.
Ben Morden?
Yes.
Ushma Neal?
Yes.
Len Silverman,
Yes.
okay, Shino Tanakawa,
Yes.
and Tom Ruckledge.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution passes by 11-0.
Can you ask Katerina as well, please?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Katerina, how do you vote on
I
this
also
resolution?
vote yes.
Okay, so it's actually 12-0 with our student member. Thank you. So that's the conclusion of the voting on resolutions, I think, right?
I move for approval of the minutes.
Oh, we don't have the minutes ready. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll approve them anyways. Last month's minutes that we approved last month. That was
Oh,
next
okay.
on the agenda.
Yep.
Oh,
We'll put that on hold. Obviously, the minutes are in flux right now. So we will move on to new business. Does anyone have new business? Otherwise, we will go on a little short hiatus. All right. There being no new business, I would like to call a 5-minute break. So everybody, thank you so much. And I have to close the meeting. Sorry. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
motion
I
to
so move.
close the regular meeting.
Great.
I second.
Excellent.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yay. Great. So I close the meeting and we're going to have a 5-minute break. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we're on a break. I'm a little, they're sort of far down. Someone wrecks you on purpose.
Great. I don't know if council members can hear me.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. I think in the interest of time, we should call the meeting to order. This is the working business meeting of the CEC district. Vincent, I don't know if you're back yet. I don't see you. Okay. No Vincent. You know what? Let's just give him a moment. Does anyone see Vincent? I do not.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Here.
So, in the interest of time, and certainly wanting to be respectful of Kelly's time in particular, Robin, are you able to call roll? Is that
Sure.
a possibility?
I'm just gonna read the names.
Yeah, I don't know if that's kosher, but
Yeah,
I
no,
think
no,
I think Vincent will understand.
Yeah, sure. So
So I'm going to call to order the meeting and have
Robin Brochi, I am here. Oh. Okay, so Robin Brochi, I am here. Tom Rockledge.
Here.
Emily Hellstrom.
Here.
Eric Goldberg.
Here.
Ushma Neal.
Here.
Tanakawa.
Here.
Ben Morden.
Here.
Len Silverman.
Here.
Ed Irizarry.
Here.
Maud Marin.
Here.
Vincent Home is not logged in right now. Katarina Kaur.
Here.
So that's everyone that is on the council, and we will make a note of it for the record.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we'll update Vincent when he gets back for sure. Okay, so for those members of the public who have stayed, thank you so much. I do want to remind you that there is no public speaking session, but we still appreciate you staying and listening. So welcome. That being said, I also need to get the agenda up. I should have used my 5 minutes to get the agenda up for the actual working business meeting. Usually it's...
I think hiring update is the first thing.
Oh, great. Yes. Hiring update. Who do I direct that to?
Michelle.
Sheena.
Well, okay. Well, okay. All right.
Right. So we did have a hiring committee at one point, didn't we?
Right. So I've asked FACE to expedite the hiring process. And I personally would love to get to the point of making an offer to a candidate before June 30th. I don't think we can possibly have the person start before then, but if we can identify the person, make an offer, I think we'll be in a good place. But maybe we can ask Michelle to see where we are with that process.
Michelle, welcome. Yay.
Just first, my condolences to everyone, and I know, like myself included, we've all missed. Yes, so I do want to get CEC2 as soon as possible. In the meantime, anything that you all need, whether it's like reimbursements, tech help, anything, absolutely please feel free to contact me. So from what I know, FACE had a set of job postings for AAs that they opened, I think, like a month and a half ago. And so I'm hoping that, we can, in the meantime, before CC2 selects someone, either take someone from that pool or from our absent teacher reserve pool, last I spoke with HR, the lady who usually would be working on this was out, and she just got back in today. So I am in contact with her, although I haven't gotten like much of an update yet. So if I don't have anything more by tomorrow, then I'll just escalate it. But like, I know how urgent this is, especially with, you know, just like the recent budget movement to put money towards students in temporary housing. So I want to make sure that everything gets cleared away.
Thank you, Michelle.
Shino, you said that there's no way to hire someone before the next term?
We can
Well-
try, but the process takes quite a bit of time. We have to post the job, interview candidates, which we do. So we have to create time to do that, and then we'll have to offer it. So it's not inconceivable, but it's a tall order.
So I just don't understand. I just think it would make sense maybe then if that person can't be in place before June 30th, wouldn't it be useful for the next CEC council to interview and make their decisions? You know, we would be making that not at all use, you know. So
The only thing that I would say
or
about that
benefit
is
from.
no, I mean, the only thing I totally hear what you're saying, Ben, but it's a lot if there's an all new council, which obviously there certainly could be. It is a lot to do this without any institutional knowledge whatsoever. Not that the new person coming in would have institutional knowledge, but at least they would be in place that we could get some, you know, give them access to things. And I mean, listen, maybe at least start the process.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the AA serves across councils, hopefully, right? So I think that's just part, you know, if we have the opportunity to bring someone in and put them in place, the hope is they'll have this role beyond the next council and the council after that. So, you know, I think just in terms of continuity and having someone in place, there's certainly a benefit to beginning this process.
Yeah, and I thought about that as well. Sorry, Robin, just quickly, but I don't want to burden the new council with this task as they start the new term. I think there's a lot more meaningful, important work that they should be doing. And if it's something that we can do and not burden the new council with this, I think that would be more beneficial.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. Like, I hear what Ben is saying, but it's a lot of work to hire the person. If it is an all new council, they're going to be getting there. They're going to be like, have, you know, it's a big learning curve. And then to add this to their list of things to do, I think could be disorienting. And we happen to currently have a council with extraordinary institutional knowledge of just what the demands of the position are. And we might be better suited to identify someone that would be a good fit for the obligations and the responsibilities. And it's almost like a gift that we can set up the new council for.
I agree with Robin. I remember when I first came on the council, I thought it was so great to have Yvette, you know, to have been here and to be able to talk to me about procedure and everything, you know, how everything flowed and what she did. It was just a great blessing. And I think that helped us, you know, as a new council. So I agree with Robin and Sheena.
Yeah, if it takes 2.5 months to hire someone, I think they'd be better served having someone from the beginning than waiting 2.5 months as well.
So is there a subset of people who take the lead on interviewing, or does this have to involve all of us?
We created a hiring committee.
I think we create a hiring committee. You know
Because
what, guys?
Robin, Maud, and I.
You know what? I'm so sorry. I'm gonna just table this. This is really good discussion. I'm just gonna table this for just a moment. And quickly if we might jump to some of the budget items that Ben was talking about, so that we can involve Kelly in that and then allow him to go. Here I said I was going to do that.
Very
and then I
nice.
didn't.
That's okay.
Oh, where's he gonna go? He's already home.
I am home. I do have to be at school tomorrow at 7, so
He's got to work. He's got to work.
it's appreciated.
Listen.
I know this is part of the job.
Ben, tell us what's going on with the budget that you needed to ask Kelly about.
Well, it was just bringing up, it was just a simple question. What technology item were you looking for? It was brought up at a previous council meeting, and is this something that's still needed, and what amounts are you looking for? Because I have to try to determine if it's doable or not in terms of what's remaining in our budget.
There was an online reading program called Epic that you can purchase an annual subscription for, and so there was some thoughts amongst schools that having those subscriptions for their students over the summer would help get them access to digital books. And so that was the thinking at the time. And at the time, there were about 450 licenses that were requested by different schools. Since then, however, a lot of schools have used their additional funding that has come into their schools and have made those purchases. So I would kind of assume that purchasing these subscriptions is much more logistically tricky than some of the other items that are on the list. So I might suggest that the funding just be allocated to the calculators or to other school supplies. I just think it's a little cleaner, and I talked to a few schools that were most interested in getting these Epic subscriptions, and they're less worried about that now, because they were able to buy them on their own.
Unfortunately, it's the budget line item that we have, that we might have some available funds, would be more towards subscriptions for technology than supplies, because we're limited to what we already set aside on that.
Great. Then if they're still there, then we absolutely could go forward with that.
So there would still be some need.
Yeah, they're not going to go to waste for sure.
Okay, I'll see what I can do, and I'll keep you in the loop.
Okay. Yeah. And if you need any information about any purchasing information, I'm sure I could get that from a school easily.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are the worst person. I've had it.
Thanks,
Emily,
Kelly.
would you like us to move to the next section?
So sorry. Yep,
That's okay.
absolutely. Great, Kelly, thank you so much. No need to remain any longer.
Thanks so much.
So we can go back now to the discussion about hiring.
So I think we should create a committee. Last time, I think we had 3 of us, and that seemed like a good number. Go ahead, Robin. You muted, Robin.
I think Robin was just saying she'd like to be part of that committee.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
what you were saying, Robin?
Well, who's running again? I mean, they might have to work with this person. I know I'm not. So if there's anybody who could be on the council.
Yeah, that's a
maybe
good
they should.
idea.
And was
We have to
Sheena,
decide. Do we have to decide right now, or can we?
I think it would be great to decide right now,
Yeah.
frankly. I really do, just because we can get it started. I mean, listen, we did not do this so long ago. And so I think that
Well,
there
you did.
are,
I didn't do this.
I know, but
Wasn't that long
all I'm
ago.
saying is it's not like ancient history. We can dig up the posting that we did. I think it was 3 years ago. Shino,
2018, yeah.
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 So, you know, I don't think that the job has changed that much, although there are some things that Yvette was amazing at that I think we would include.
Faces
Yeah.
the
So who wants to be on the
posting
committee? Who
formula.
wants to be on the committee?
Right, so I'll just say Faces the posting for us. And it's just, then they forward us resumes,
Indeed.
and whoever's on the committee goes through the resumes, decides who to interview, and plans, you know, does, you know, agrees on some questions and does the interviews. It was me and Gino and Maud, I think, the last time. It was just right before the council turned over the last time. Yvette had just started, like in May. So, I mean, I think, I know, you know, at least between me and Shino, we know the routine, and anyone that wants to join us is welcome.
And also, I think District 5 just went through the process, and they may have some candidates that they could send our way. So I can coordinate with Michelle to see if we can tap some of those.
That's District 9.
9? Okay.
5 has had their AA for many years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So who wants to be on this committee?
I'll join.
Got Ben. Sounds like Robin. Anyone else? Shino, did you say you wanted to be on it? It sounded like
I don't want to be on it, but I'd be happy to be on it if you need
Hey,
me to.
Shino, you're on it.
you need a third.
Okay. I'll do it then.
Thank you so much, Shino. I appreciate that. And thank you, Robin, and thank you, Ben. That's fantastic. We have a committee. And Michelle, if you could just coordinate with them, that would be wonderful. We can just get the ball rolling.
And the majority vote on the committee, correct?
Do we need to have a vote on that committee? Okay.
No, he was saying, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all in favor of
Yeah,
that
okay,
committee.
good.
Raise your hand. Great, yay. Okay, and then next we have any new business?
Not new business, but an observation. Was there an email sent out to schools notifying that we had a meeting today? Because this might be the lowest turnout I've seen in the 2 years that I've been on the council.
We did have a notice.
Twice, and I tweeted it, I think, 3 times as well.
This is kind of stunning. I just kind of shocked that we
Pretty
dropped so much.
typical. It's pretty typical this time of year.
Weather's getting
the number of
nicer.
things.
Yeah, people are vaccinated.
They're
I mean,
This is
I've been
it.
outside
This is
doing
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing
We
like,
could read between the lines.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I know you're not sure.
Yeah, because
Meeting
it's still
ready to
quarantine for a lot of
adjourn.
people.
Ready to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
All right. Excellent.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Wait, we have to vote.
we did.
Okay.
Voted.
Okay.
The motion,
We voted.
voting. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you, public. Bye.
I had a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
So I was told that there was a mailing list where I could like get the agenda beforehand because I've been checking the website, like it's a little difficult for me. And I found like the mailing list on the website. Is that
Here,
the
wait, Robin, why don't you turn off the recording because we don't need the recorders. And I don't think we have any. Do we have?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait, there's,
Oh God, there are still people in the public. So yes, we'll keep you ASL interpreters just in case, but this doesn't need to be in the recording part. Anyway.
Did you fill out the form on the website?
Yeah, I just filled it out because I was told by Violet from the last council year that I was missing things, and I was like,
oh no.
You know what? It was just a terrible, we should have just, usually we're better about like making sure you're added to the constant contact list, but you know, it was just
So that's just like the normal emailing list that I signed up for like an hour ago.
Yes.
Yes, and then what I'll do is
offline discussion. That there are not that many offline emails that go around. So
yeah.
Okay.
We try to keep them we try to keep the council business like in meetings. So like I probably should have sent my resolution to the entire council, but I didn't this time. I just got busy. But what I'll make sure if I see a full council email go by, I'll make sure to add your email to it. Or Robin, maybe do you want to do that, Robin, where you, because I don't even know if I have your email address, if you want to share it with us.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you give it to
I actually
Robin?
tried to send an email to your CC email.
Yeah, that would be good.
Response, but it's okay.
Nice. Okay. Oh, did you send one to mine? Oh no. How did I not see that?
It's okay. I was trying to figure out the meeting date because I had college decisions coming out. So I was like, I was really worried that I was going to be on the same day. So
right. Okay. So basically, so if you sent one to my CEC email address, I don't know why I didn't see that. But then I would have your.
Yeah, I'll just private message it to you now.
Yeah.
I just sent it to you, Katerina. So that'll also get it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, there I have it. And I don't know why I didn't see it. I'm so sorry. I'm usually pretty good with email. Okay, but we'll make sure that you're, like I'll loop you into any full email, and that way usually what people do is they just keep that set and they add and just keep looping around. So
okay, great, thank you.
But in terms of like future meetings, do you have all of the meeting dates now?
Yeah, I eventually found it on the website.
So it's not a very user-friendly website, unfortunately.
But I did find it eventually, so I will find it again when I need to figure out when the next meeting is.
Excellent. Yeah, I think the next one, they're usually, I think what did we decide, Robin? It's like the first Tuesday of every month, except that it was like it was right after spring break, so we didn't. Yeah, so the next one is on the 11th, May 11th.
It should be May 11th. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna sign off.
Yep, it's May 11th is the next one, and we'll make sure to get you the other.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a nice
Bye, guys.